Ready. Hello, hello, hello. How is everyone doing? Thank you for being here. Sorry about the delay. Obviously, yesterday was very emotional. And so I just need a little bit more time to sit down today. And, I'm not gonna necessarily continue today about what I was talking about yesterday, just so I can have like an emotional pause on it, because I'm sure there are a lot of survivors here in the chat that totally understand what it's like when you have to relive, your trauma, things that happen to you, especially when you're naming names. And it's a very, very scary thing. And so I had to decide where I was going next. And actually, I was talking to Quiet earlier, and he wanted to let me know, to let you guys know, what's the point of all of this? In the sense where I know this is not the usual programming. We're not having brewing justice today. There's no more nostalgia happening right now. And it's because I am ready to put it all on the table about what happened to me specifically, to not only hopefully educate allies who are here, even maybe some survivors that are here, about certain individuals that I have experienced, that are still in the industry, by the way, that I find to be extremely dangerous. And I sit here talking about all the other people, and I think it's time for me personally to tell my story, because I need to, for the safety of other individuals who are still working with these people, etc. So today we're not going to be going into red light management anymore. I will return to red light management, and I'm going to be putting in our community of YouTube all of the evidence which comes from my open letters, etc. And by the way, I did forget to mention yesterday that red light management was CC'd when they weren't supposed to have any involvement in legal matters. They were CC'd in the draft of the final judgment. The final judgment that I was talking about yesterday that covered up blank blank. Yeah. Yeah, they were CC'd in that. And that's also on Instagram, obviously. So I'll return to that later, because it is very emotional for me personally, and triggering. So I'm going to go into a series that leads us to Nickelodeon and Dan Schneider and Dan Schneider's good friend. And it's pretty wild, you guys, because I never thought in a million years that my stalker, who I have a restraining order against for 2 years, had any type of involvement with Nickelodeon at all. I'm hearing myself somewhere. Is it from you and your headphones, or is it from? Okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't playing the YouTube. But I never thought that could happen. And listen, I've heard so many from so many different survivors, especially when it comes to Scientology, about plants, about controlled opposition. And listen, I'm not talking about a conspiracy here. I'm just starting to connect my own personal dots with evidence, and a little bit freaked out by it. And I don't even know what to make of it quite yet. But to get there, I have to sadly explain the origin stories of e-predators. Because the origin stories of e-predators leads to my stalker. And I was very much afraid to say his name, show people who he is. Hi, Peyton. My birthday is in 3 weeks, Alexa, January 20th. Happy birthday, Peyton. It's so nice to see you here. So yeah, I was afraid to. I was afraid by his enablers that were sadly survivors that I have met along the way when it's come to e-predators. And, you know, we talk about being cycle breakers here at e-predators. And I realized that if someone is not a cycle breaker and they're harming other people and enabling crimes, then, you know, I'm going to sadly have to talk about it. So we're going to go into the origin story of e-predators, talk about how it all came to be. This is only going to be one part, though. I'm only going up to chapter 3 today. I'm going to introduce you to some main players that have been part of harassing me and my family to the point where my own daughter, who's 3 years old, has had to get a restraining order. And so we're going to be introducing these main players. And I didn't want to have to sit here and do this because some of these individuals are survivors. And at the same time, though, it's gone too far. It's gone too far. And I'm no longer pregnant. I had to deal with a lot of this while I was pregnant with my son. And I'm not pregnant anymore. And I feel like I can take on talking about what happened and how I got here from an open letter that I posted on Instagram that is called Survivors Divided. And for those that are listening, I'm sure you know about the anthem of e-predators stating survivors united will never be divided. And I sadly had to learn that survivors can be divided internally. And I had to learn how that happens. And at first I thought, oh, you know, this is just the people in here. But now, present day, I'm learning about Dan Schneider and Nickelodeon having some type of affiliation and involvement in what divided survivors. So I'm going to be reading from my open letter that was posted on Instagram January 23rd of this year, which is interesting that, you know, next month would be the 1-year anniversary of this excruciating open letter that I had to do while I was pregnant. And now we're here again because my stalker has already violated his RO multiple times in the last month. And the same people that were enabling him then are enabling him now. Sad. This is not where we should be. We should be going up against predatory behavior, predators, what really matters. And yet, this is the cycle that some people are still apparently in. And now that I'm no longer pregnant, I feel like I can take this on. I can show the receipts because this is going to be a series of receipt weeks. And, you know, I'm done with the he said, she said of all of this. I'm done with, you know, people talking about things without any receipts. When I do have the receipts. Hi, David. Thank you for sharing your journey with us. You are so brave and a warrior. Don't ever stop fighting. Your voice is so important. Thank you so much, David. Thank you so much for being here. So yeah, we're going to go into this open letter. We're going to go up until chapter 3. I'm going to introduce each person that was a part of protesting when I formed and created e-predators. I'm going to be talking about the volunteers that enabled harassment, etc. So here we go. You can show my screen, Adam. It's quiet. Sorry. So this is my open letter, January 23rd, called Survivors Divided. It's an open letter by me. There have been numerous accounts spreading misinformation about the origin of e-predators and past volunteers in potential leadership positions. Today, I want to be vulnerable about the challenges of leading a movement and the human pitfalls of wanting to help all the survivors I met along the way. My intention of this letter is to reflect on e-predators and to offer full transparency about the movement and how it grew. It's unfortunate I have to fight for the survival of e-predators when I would rather be eating predators. But closure and healing is necessary for all. I am disappointed that these individuals have put so much time and energy into a counter movement that discredits and divides survivors. For the safety and privacy of the survivors involved, each individual is mentioned as pseudonyms, but today they're not. I will not be protecting their names anymore because of what they have been doing and what they continue to do, and it's more important to warn the survivor community about these individuals. But that was then. I tried. I really did. E-predators, the origin story. I could, maybe. There. E-predators was birthed not by careful planning or preparation. And this will be nice for the community because I do want you all to hear how this all started. E-predators was birthed not by careful planning or preparation, but through spontaneity and passion. As a survivor of the music industry, I felt a calling to protest an all-ages concert in Los Angeles, California, upon realizing that a well-known EDM musician and alleged predator would be performing that evening. Knowing the artist's alleged past with underage victims, I feared for the safety of the attendees and felt the audience deserved full transparency, particularly underage girls. I decided to reach out to my network of fellow survivors and organize a small demonstration. As for the protest sign, a light bulb went off almost instantly. Knowing that the event was called Eat the Rich, I decided to write Eat Predators. The name stuck, and a baby movement was born. With the new slogan in tow, my husband, Miko Gray, and Kay, so see there it says K.A., I'm going to say her name and their name now. It's Kay Brown. And one other survivor attended the concert. MG, Miko Gray, and I inserted ourselves directly into the audience so that our signs were visible to all attendees. As our protest caught the eye of audience members and the alleged predator himself, a message was sent. Survivors will not be silenced, and the public deserves full transparency. After supportive responses from both survivors and social media followers, e-predators transformed from a simple protest slogan to its own activist movement. E-predators began protesting SA and corruption within the music industry through regular demonstrations and social media awareness campaigns. Since its inception, e-predators was grown quickly in size as survivors and allies alike joined to disrupt the music industry and support the message, survivors deserve justice. As an established movement, e-predators continues to expand with hopes of providing direct resources for survivors, creating educational content, and demanding justice for those affected by industry ABUSC. Today, the power of e-predators remains in our creatively disruptive demonstrations and protest signs outside of major companies accused of covering up SA, Directly naming a person of authority in the hierarchy of power is a tactic that personalizes the message and demands response and reflection from the person or institution that is confronted. Power to survivors. So here's the first receipt. I'm going to have to zoom out of this a little bit. So this is the first receipt. It's the creation of EP. I was speaking to an individual by the name of K. Brown. I'm going to show you who K. Brown is. K. Brown has a nonprofit organization that is supposed to create safety for survivors within the music industry, at shows, etc. And I'm going to tell you all right here, right now, this individual does not want to create safety for survivors because the quite opposite happened for me personally. Not only did this individual, enable my stalker, but also showed up on my stalker's podcast on YouTube to spread lies about me, to discredit me as a survivor, which is awful because when you think about a survivor nonprofit, you think they don't get involved in things like that, things that can discredit survivors or bring on harassment towards them. That's quite the opposite, right? I mean, for me, if I was creating a nonprofit for safety for survivors, I would never in a million years enable the harassment and stalking that is happening to a survivor. So, K. Brown. Let's resume. That's K. Brown. The nonprofit is called For Consent. And we're going to get into K. So here's my first message. So I didn't know who K was. I never met K before. K was someone who knew CAELI Higgins because CAELI, I guess, was working for K or something like that for the nonprofit. And when I organized the protests against Diplo at the Eat the Rich ice cream truck, I was trying to organize and get people there. And CAELI told me that K, this person K, would be interested in coming. So I have a bunch of messages with K, meeting K, and then you can see here it says, going with my husband with signs. Are you interested in joining us? It's an all ages show. K says, do you have extra signs or supplies for signs? I don't have time to make one, but can make one there. I said, yes, I'm going to have a picture of his face with alleged predator and then one that says eat predators. So for any confusion out there, especially when it comes to what Kay's been saying and what Kaylee's been saying, here's the actual receipt of how Eat Predators began. I said, because the event is called Eat the Rich, but apparently Kaylee and Kay, when they were on my Stalker's platform, tried to say that they all came up with that whole thing with each other. And that's not at all how it happened. And the reason why I'm having to clarify this is because it gets dangerous later on. This isn't like some drama. This is actually a lot of trauma, to be quite honest with you. So, because the event is called Eat the Rich, Kay goes wild, me and my PG sign. I'm the vanilla protester this time. Moving on. Survivors United, Chapter 1. So as you can see here, it says CC. That was because I was protecting that individual's identity. It is CAELI Higgins. I met, and to know who CAELI Higgins is, I don't know if you know this individual on Instagram, but it's Music Industry Watchdog. I met CAELI online because she happened to find my open letter, Broomed by the Broom. Hi, kind and kooky. Welcome to the Munchies. Broomed by the Broom on her Explore page. We were both survivors of the music industry and outspoken. We only connected a few times before Eat Predators. We were both going through lawsuits with our abusers, so our connection grew from our empathy towards one another. I invited CAELI to the first protest, and she said she was going to be there, but never showed up. I received a text message from her hours later that she was not going to make it. However, that night, I got fueled. I was empowered, and I did not plan on stopping. The next day, I reached out to some press outlets letting them know about an upcoming protest and giving them information about e-predators. I also asked CAELI if she wanted to come to the next protest. She said yes. Press said yes. I reached out to more survivors. They said yes. I just organized my first protest. It was rad. It felt good. They all came over the night before to make signs. It was so much fun and extremely healing. It was nice to see survivors joyful again, myself included. But I was nervous. We were protesting one of the most powerful law firms in Hollywood, and it was founded by an alleged R-word who defends other alleged R-words, and that's Brian Friedman. I found the public court documents myself months prior. Our message was clear. As survivors, we felt this was unethical and we were willing to speak truth to power. Next receipt. CAELI, absent at first protest. Hey, you there? That's me, question mark, question mark. CAELI, where are you? CAELI, dude, we are all almost there. We need you. And then I send the coordinates. CAELI says, ugh, just getting home with the car now and I'm about 20 minutes out, so I don't think I'll get there until right as it's ending. I'm so bummed. How's it going? Welcome, Molly. Welcome to the Munchies. After I organized my second protest, I decided it would be a good idea for CAELI and I to seek justice at Red Light Management. And we learned about Red Light Management yesterday. Alongside another survivor, because all of our ABUSERS were/are represented by them. Coincidence? No. E-predators continue to reveal the rampant SA and blatant cover-up in the music industry. The more that was revealed to us, the more we felt empowered and less alone. At the second e-predators protest, I came up with the chant, "Survivors United will never be divided." Now with CAELI, K, and I, united, we were stronger than ever. We were able to organize a protest with 10 plus people. E-predators was growing quickly. I was not prepared for the rapid growth and ignorantly thought we could organize weekly protests. If I could go back in time, I would rest a lot more and make sure others did as well. We were all trying to figure out how to grow a movement. CAELI opened the e-predators Instagram account and Gmail account on my behalf. Because of her background in social media management, CAELI's volunteer contribution consisted of Instagram and e-predators email correspondences. Meanwhile, I was also boosting the movement on my personal Instagram account. In addition, I was organizing the locations, handling PR, creatively directing protest signs, flyers, and doing all of the research. This was and still is my contribution for e-predators. For each protest, Michael Gray and I made between 5 to 30 signs every Thursday. None were duplicates. And Michael Gray and I assembled them all. Signs are a lot of work. I am grateful for Michael Gray and his printer, my husband, but unfortunately it costs a lot of money. That's when I decided to also invest my own money into e-predators because otherwise it couldn't go on. Let's get out of here. Oh, where are you? Okay. Here is the next receipt. Protest signs. I can show my screen. Here's CAELI on the phone in Uber, be there in 5. Hey, you'll see us out front prepping signs. You okay? Hey, we need help, LOL. Putting these together. My service is super shitty for some reason, but I'll find you. I'm pulling up now. Did you get my text? So here's another receipt of how, I was making these protest signs, assembling them, etc. Then here is the receipt when it comes to the e-predators Instagram. Can we make an e-predators Instagram account? We got it. I changed the name of an old account I'm not using anymore. Already has some followers. It'll help us build us faster. It was a social justice type account before, so the people following are good. I said, oh my God, I can't believe we got it. Fire emojis. Yes, thank you so much for doing that. Wonderful. During the first 7 protests, Michael Gray and I were working days and nights on end researching. Yeah, I can zoom in. During the 7 protests, Michael Gray and I were working days and nights on end, researching, designing signs, flyers, and organizing. On top of it all, we are parents of a toddler with no help, very little resources, and my husband worked a full-time job. Over the span of a month, we went to Friedman's law firm twice, Red Light twice, Warner Music Group, and Sony. I was exhausted, proud, and more determined than ever. The concept symbol was born around the time of the second Friedman protest, and it was not my idea. Our symbol? A supporter of e-Predators volunteered their graphic design work towards the cause, and I'm going to say who it was. It was actually somebody who knew Jeff Anderson, who was a lawyer. And when I became friends with his son, he's a great graphic designer, and that's the birth of the symbol. His creative mind thought of the mouth with the hand in it. He allowed e-Predators to have full ownership of it, and I am still, to this day, deeply grateful for the idea, which has now evolved into what it is today, which was designed by Miko Gray. So it used to be an actual mouth, an actual hand in the beginning, and then my husband drew it and made it, what it is now. It was becoming difficult to get consistent turnout every week. It was not until our second red light protests that Michael Gray recommended we use social media and go live explaining why we are there from the survivors themselves. This ended up becoming an effective way to protest both in person and virtually. The reach was beyond expectations and more educational overall for those who were not present. Therefore, I refined our approach towards the e-Predators protests. I decided to use the protest signs as tools for education. What's behind me? It is crazy how much information you can put on a piece of paper and whose face you could call out to. Sony is where I met Kaylee's friend Neela. So L-I, lie, is Neela. From my knowledge, they met each other online, and she was also a survivor. She wanted to help and contribute to the movement. At this stage, e-Predators started to form core leadership roles, which included Cece, Kaylee, Li, Neela, and I. On August 16th, Kaylee said she was in conflict with a fellow survivor, S, who was pregnant. I'm pretty positive. And asked me to block her. And I can't say who this person is because this person is afraid of Kaylee. And actually was afraid even when I had this open letter come out. And I had to remove the receipt of Kaylee harassing this individual. Because I respected what the survivor wanted me to do. I'm pretty positive and asked me to block her after she blocked e-Predators IG. Red flag number 1. This was the first red flag. Kaylee was dividing survivors. And I hear that's what she's still trying to do. But later I found out that Kaylee was harassing S, which sadly was a pattern of her behavior towards others, even on the e-Predators IG page. She lied about creating e-Predators and used it to intimidate another survivor, which I had the receipt, but I had to remove it. She also lied about having a book deal and was threatening to use it to expose the survivor. Can you believe this? I'm going to repeat that one more time. She lied about creating e-Predators and used it to intimidate another survivor. She also lied about having a book deal and was threatening to use it to expose the survivor. Red flag number 2. S had already blocked her on other accounts, but Kaylee continued to harass her. Around this time, hi Stace, welcome to the Munchies. Thank you for being here. Around this time, another Nickelodeon actress came forward about her own experiences at the network. And we know who that is, Jeanette McCurdy. It inspired me to come forward about my experiences and use the power of protesting to advocate for safer environments for child actors. In the midst of leading the movement, I missed being creative. Protesting is intense, fun, empowering, but intense. I wanted the signs to not only be educational, but to also be creative. This was the real beginning of e-predators as it is seen today. So I decided to slime my childhood trauma, as you can see right here. Organizing this protest was different. More eyes were on it. Many press outlets were reaching out to attend. It is a sad reality that people really only care about your trauma if it's popular or relevant or trending. If they can exploit it for clicks and ad revenue. E-Predators as a movement was trying to expose the cover-up of SA within the music industry. But after Nickelodeon, I became the face of it all, which eventually triggered CAELI. Here's CAELI. This is receipt. Where are we at? Receipt 6. CAELI, no rush, just whenever you get a chance. Also got some weird messages from Justin asking for an invitation to your house for a barbecue. I'm worried about people having your address. Have seen too many weird things with parasocial relationships between. Don't want anything bad to happen to you. Hey, CAELI. S, this is the pregnant survivor, just messaged me screenshots of you messaging her. And she has a newborn. Oh, so this is afterwards. It's like freaking her out. We should talk maybe before messaging her because she said I sent you snapshots and I didn't. And she didn't say anything mean about you at all. And then she said, you said that she responded to me before blocking me, but she didn't. I said, she just said that you guys spoke once before the blocking. The Nickelodeon protest put e-predators on the map. I was on the phone for 5 hours a day on average. I was so exhausted talking about my trauma over and over again to absolute strangers, trying to plug in the movement as much as I could to create more awareness. Leadership meetings were supposed to be happening and I couldn't even show up because of pure exhaustion. I had to handle the PR wave to keep up the momentum for all of our beautiful efforts, but it created disappointments within e-predators and doubt. My actions were a mixture of trauma response and wanting worldwide support for survivors. I wanted survivors to feel empowered, to organize their own protests, and to stand up to power with their truth. In essence, I wanted to use my platform and privilege to expose the problem and did so at the expense of my mental health. I wanted to use my story as an example of the problem. Instead, some of the survivors were upset with me because I no longer had time to accommodate to them individually. I was so focused on the mission, but my community and core leadership was beginning to falter because of my disconnect. And for that, I'm sorry. Now that e-predators was established and known publicly, everyone wanted more from me. From press to survivors within e-predators. Neela was feeling like she was floating around within the movement because of my time now being put towards PR for e-predators. She wanted to focus on something new. I heard she was feeling left out from the movement through CAELI, and CAELI was beginning to weaponize Neela for her own requests out of doubt and fear. This was a pattern of CAELI. I reached out to Neela to make sure she was okay and felt supported. I also wanted her to have more transparency about my current situation. I was so happy to hear she was putting something together for survivors. Her idea was beyond beautiful and extremely expensive and a lot of work, though. I was willing to support her idea and even said she should use the name Survivors United. After CAELI told me in a text privately that she was thinking about using those words for it, I wanted her to feel empowered, and I felt honored that she was inspired by the words and the current upswing of the movement. I was a little worried about how I could help make this happen and balance everything else. I am no savior, and I never said that I was. I was just trying to find ways to be part of the solution. I should have created more boundaries for myself, though. I started to feel that because I was a public figure, more was expected from me than the rest of the group. I don't think they truly understood how much work I was doing, etc. Just because someone has a platform does not mean they can and/or have to solve all of your personal requests. They can advocate for change and sometimes volunteer guidance, resources, but they cannot change the course of your entire life. Public figures are just normal people who happen to have more of a reach. A good friend of mine shared these words recently, and they resonated with me. Now that ePredators was established and known publicly, everyone wanted more from me, from press to survivors within ePredators. Neela was, oh wait, did I already say this? Why isn't it moving on? Oh, we're going into the next receipt. Pattern of CAELI, receipt number 7. Here's CAELI. I think Neela is going to disengage. She's been really having a hard time for the last month. She said she hasn't heard anything from you since she left. No replies to any texts or emails, and she thinks it's personal. I told her it's probably not, but since she's put so much work into helping build the Patreon, so we're going to get into that in a second. Google Drive, podcasts, writing all of the copy, responding to messages on EP. She feels like you're either not aware of what she's doing or don't have time to give her any feedback. But either way, she said she can't handle not hearing back from you anymore. Which, by the way, this wasn't even necessarily happening. Wait till the next receipt. She was crying because she's been trying so hard to get this phone call for today scheduled with us and blank, but you didn't write back yesterday, and the call was supposed to be today. I don't know what to do. She goes on and on. She goes, because she is the systems management expert who built a lot of the infrastructure and has done a lot of the grunt work. I said, wait, she messaged you. I thought she took a break, because that was the whole thing. She took a break. She took a break, and I respected her time to recharge and focus on herself. I did not mean to not call her or anything. All right. So let's get out of here. I guess we're here. I said, I'm sorry, what I posted on IG a month ago. If anyone has any questions, they can call me and be part of it. Wait, why is this already happening here? Where is it? I want to make sure I'm in the right. Is this receipt 8? Okay. So, another receipt. I'm sorry what I posted on IG a month ago. If anyone has any questions, they can call me and be a part of it. It's just a little book club. So this is when things started to go downhill. I created a book club. I thought it would be a fun way to have survivors get together, read a book together, and discuss with one another their thoughts and have fun. Because a lot of the work that I was doing was physically showing up every single Thursday, protesting these institutions, making the signs until 3 a.m. while Nova was asleep, and showing up. And it was a lot of work. And then the rest of the hours, I was hanging out with my children and talking to journalists about Nickelodeon, etc. And it was hours, sometimes 4 hours a day. And I wanted to create something fun. And during this time, CAELI was no longer in Los Angeles. She was in New York. So she wasn't even going to any protests anymore. She was in New York. It was really heavy for me. Extremely heavy. And so I thought, well, you know what would be fun is to make a book club and have survivors come together and read a book together. Well, they got mad about that. They got mad about it, I think, because CAELI and Neela's whole interest in ePredators, mostly CAELI, was the fact that CAELI wanted to make money off of ePredators. And to me, ePredators was just protesting every single Thursday at all of these different institutions that were allegedly covering up SA. That's all I was focused on. That's all I personally wanted to do, and it felt like the right thing to do. And then CAELI was wanting to figure out ways to make money. Which here, I'm going to say this very bluntly. I don't think activists should make no money. I think activists should make money, especially since all the bad guys are constantly making money while being bad guys. I think the very least, good guys should make money too. But the way that CAELI was going about it, it was only a few weeks old, my creation of ePredators. There was no money. This was protesting. This is advocacy work. This is activism. CAELI was wanting money. And the book club was something that was free because I wanted it to be free. I wanted it all to be free. I just wanted survivors to unite and I wanted survivors to come together. So when I created the book club, that's where things kind of got faltered. So here we go. What do I say here? I said, I'm sorry that what I posted on IG a month ago, if anyone has any questions, they can call me. Because you have to remember, ePredators, I did ePredators, I did this. And so when I want to also make a book club, I should be able to make my book club, you know? So I was like, and be a part of it is just a little book club. Like here is now the gaslighting, and you can kind of tell this relationship, this dynamic is getting toxic. Because now I'm here being like, it's just a little book club. Like I should be able to make this little book club. Like what the fuck is this? She goes, and you didn't know because we haven't all gotten on a call since she left to check in about it. So we're bummed that you had launched it without telling us at a time when it was physically impossible for either of us to read a book. When we were trying to build out the Patreon, social media, Discord, Google Drive, field all the survivor requests and press requests, and try not to leave any survivors who've reached out hanging for more than a week, which we're going to get into because that is not true, CAELI. And trying to figure out how to make this a nonprofit on top of it all so that we can actually get paid. So here we go. CAELI then was pressuring me to make ePredators into a nonprofit. First of all, you know how much goes into a nonprofit? A lot. A lot goes into a nonprofit. Grants, filing it as a nonprofit, the rules and regulations, etc. ePredators was 2 weeks, 3 weeks? 3 weeks old. I'm just protesting and inviting these individuals and trying to get them to be involved in creating change for survivors. And then all of a sudden it got into, how can these people make money? Which was a shame. Which was a shame because there was no money. And if anything, we're only 3 weeks old. We've only been protesting for 3 weeks. We don't need to make this about money yet, at all. This should be about survivors. This should be about advocating for survivors and making change. But it was all starting to get about getting paid. So I said, I respond to this. And she goes, and trying to figure out how to make this a nonprofit on top of it so we could all get paid. And she goes, and not feel like we're your unpaid assistants. I go, I thought I was responding to press. And then she goes, since you're the only one getting any credit. I go, I'm offended that you just said that to me. Then she goes, there have been a bunch of press requests in the DMs that we sent over to email. I said, I do so much work. You guys don't have to do anything. Then she goes, that's how it feels because we aren't getting paid. I said, if you don't have the time or space or energy, then she goes, or any kind of benefit, but you are. What's my benefit? Being more susceptible to lawsuits? Putting my ass on the line as a survivor, getting re-traumatized every single Thursday? Which, by the way, nobody even gave a FUCK about ePredators until the Nickelodeon protests, by the way. No one. And then I'm doing every single protest sign, organizing it, showing up, and doing 4 hours a day of interviews, trying to get it out there. And CAELI was wanting to be part of the ePredators Instagram, which we get to later. She felt bad not responding to every single message in ePredators. And I was like, CAELI, this is not on you. If you don't want to respond, like, no one's even given you this job. Like, you're wanting to do this and then you're getting burnt out by it. So it's important to take care of your mental health. But no, that's not what was happening. So I said, I do so much work. You guys don't have to do anything. She goes, that's how it feels because we aren't getting paid. I go, if you don't have time or space or energy or any other benefit, but you are, I said, I've been working my ass off, which I have. My ass off. She goes, this is a resume builder for you. A resume builder for me. What? Being an R victim? Losing my whole career, by the way, to coming forward and doing this. You think any institution out there wants anything to do with me now? What resume? If this was on my resume, I'm never getting hired. You know what I mean? If this is on my resume, who's gonna hire me? No one. Which ended up happening multiple times. My whole career cannot be what it is because of what I've been doing. But you know what? It was worth it. I don't regret it. I go, wow, you are being so mean. It's when the bullying began. Neither one of us could put this on a resume. I'm like, I'm tapping out. And then she goes, we're not credited anywhere. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? Credited? This is advocate. We're just protesting every Thursday. What are you talking about? This is when egos get involved. And this is why it's so important to talk about this when we're doing advocacy work. Predators are going to be praying that our egos get the best of us. I go, so uncalled for. She goes, it's not personal to you. I'm explaining why it feels like we're working for your movement for free because the press only credits you. That's not your fault. That's just how it is. I'm like, what? So the big goal is to make it sustainable. I'm like, we're 3 weeks in, CAELI. Literally 3 weeks of protesting. So that if we're not getting any credit for our work, then at least we're able to do it sustainable. I'm like, credit where? This is so fucked. I brought the podcast so that we could all be a part of this. My name is nowhere on ePredator's page. And instead, I made it that all the survivors are posted and not really me, except for the lives. This is really fucked up. Then she goes, I'm talking about all the press. If I were to try to put this on a resume, I wouldn't be able to. Like, look, it's all about, CAELI, doing advocacy work for survivors is not about a resume. Okay? It's about uniting survivors. Empowering survivors. Giving power to survivors. This is not about you or me. This is not about anybody but uniting survivors to feel that they are actually powerful, because they are. And it's predators that want survivors to feel that they're not fucking powerful. And they are. This is not a resume builder. This is not a resume builder. This is not about getting paid. No. This is about changing the fucking world, man. And that's what I thought we were doing. What I was doing. Why I started this. And then I wanted to actually bring survivors into this so that we can actually unite and do this. But no, resume building, getting paid. That's what it all became about. That's what it all became about. I go, resume? She goes, that's not because you asked them to or anything, and I'm not blaming you for it all. I'm just saying we have to make establishing the nonprofit a priority, because if we're not getting paid, wait, here we go again. And all the press says you're doing all this work, which I am, CAELI, which I am. It feels like working for someone else's movement. Well, it's because I started this movement. I go, this isn't for a resume, CAELI. This is advocacy. And I started this. I can't believe I have to type this. She goes, I am doing full-time work that I'm not getting paid for. That's not sustainable, period. I go, and wanted this open to you guys. What full-time work? Which, by the way, you have to tell me if you're doing work. Like, I never hired CAELI. Like, no one's hired here. It's like, you know, when you're volunteering, you're like doing advocacy work, like everyone's participating in like advocacy work. And you're like, okay, I'm doing this over here. You're doing this over there. This is not full-time work. That's not like, that's not, you have to know how to live your life, and then you do your advocacy work. Like, if anything is interfering with one another, it's on you to make sure that's not happening. Like, full-time work, I couldn't even believe she was saying that, because I'm like, what work are you doing? I've been doing work every single week for 3 days leading up to each protest and organizing it. You're what on the Instagram? Like, what's happening? So I go, what full-time work? She goes, I have to focus on turning this into a nonprofit above all else, because that's the only way it's going to become sustainable. We're 3 weeks in. 3 weeks into protesting here. Okay. And I'm going to be wrapping up in like 9 minutes and continuing to chapter 2 tomorrow. I can't handle this type of treatment as if I'm a CEO or something. This is me now speaking. And mistreating you guys. This is a collective advocacy work. But you saying digs is really mean, and I don't appreciate it. She goes, this is the problem. You apparently have no idea how much work we put in and have to put in every day, just to make sure none of the survivor orgs who have reached out are left hanging. CAELI, what? And then maintaining the Discord. No, CAELI was never on the Discord. I don't even think CAELI was in the Discord while she was typing this. It was me, which, by the way, every single person who were the OG e-predators on Discord can, by the way, raise their hands and say it was me organizing everything within the Discord and being there day in and day out and talking to everybody. Everyone. Tons of witnesses. I never saw CAELI once organizing that Discord. Responding to these messages every day, responding to Patreon messages, and making sure each subscriber got what they paid for, or at least note that they will. The list goes on, but that's a lot of work. CAELI wasn't even doing any of this work, because wait till you hear what Neela said. And I don't think you even know how much work we've done and are doing every day. It's not a dig on you at all. I'm not saying you did any of this. It's just how it's playing out, because people can't work for free. I go, if you don't feel comfortable with the work that you are doing, and it's all volunteer work, I appreciate all of the work you put in. But if you are burnt out, take a step back and tell me what you need me to do to lessen the load. She goes, so we have to figure out how to make it sustainable. I give a thumbs up. What I'm saying is the only work I can prioritize is focusing on building the nonprofit, because that's what gets CAELI paid. So CAELI didn't want to deal with the brunt work of protesting, making the protest signs, doing the actual advocacy work that it takes to build a movement. That's not what CAELI wanted to do. CAELI was wanting to make it a nonprofit to get paid. While everyone else, me, doing the advocacy work, people volunteering, people bringing signs sometimes. This is protesting. This is an Instagram page. You know what I mean? Okay. I said, I totally understand that. I said, we've put $2,000 into it of money we don't even have and have lost money. And Michael Gray works insane hours. And I have a 2-year-old. It's a lot of work, and we have put literally so much time and money into this. And I never even say any of that to anyone. Never wanted to make anyone feel bad. Yeah, it's not sustainable for any of us if it stays volunteer work. Oh, okay. This is about getting paid. I said, I understand that completely. Have to leave it be. Then I sent CAELI another message, which is how I'm going to end for today. Because, by the way, there's 72 receipts. Now we're going to end up hearing from Neela, ending up hearing from everyone, and seeing how all of this was actually being played out. Because this is important for where we're getting at, and also it's important for survivors here in the chat to learn about how our movements can get disrupted by things like this. And I have nothing to hide. Nothing. And I want full 100% transparency when it comes to all of this, because there is someone who's extremely dangerous who got in with all of this and putting people's actual lives at risk. I said, this is now September 30th. I go, this is to CAELI. Do not do any of this advocacy for free if you are maxed out and need to focus on your life, rest, etc. I opened this up for whoever wanted to be part of the advocacy work for survivors and to contribute in the ways they felt comfortable with. This is a fully consensual space, and nothing should be done without the person's feeling 100% yes. And as of now, it's volunteer until we actually get it to a point that it's no longer strictly volunteer work. This is September 30th, okay, everyone? I said this is a steep mountain to climb. It will take time, a lot of sweat, tears, and commitment. This is deep work, and it can be triggering. I care deeply about how you feel and how you want to show up. So I want to make sure you are feeling comfortable and not triggered or overloaded. So we should have a talk with Neela included so we can make a plan as to what everyone wants to do and what we don't want to do and what we have time and space for and what we do not. But right now, this isn't about a resume. Can you believe this? This isn't about a resume. This isn't about money. This is about building a movement, which will take a lot of time, not overnight. And we all have to decide for ourselves individually how we want to show up, what works and what doesn't. This is not about assistance. This is not about a boss, which is, by the way, this is like old world archaic boomer shit. I am the founder of ePredators. I started it, etc. But this is about survivors uniting. Like, let's stop getting in this pigeonhole. This is about survivors uniting. This is about all survivors. I am using my platform for a cause I feel passionate about and feels needed because I am a survivor. I am not a boss. I am not a person who has assistance, nor do I ever want that to be the case. If you have something you need to talk about, then please give me a call. I have spoken to Neela, and she let me know she was not ever stepping away from ePredators and everything is all good. So CAELI lied about that. Side note, which will be the next receipt tomorrow. But I'm going to continue this. We connected and are on the same page and understand one another. She just said she wants to build this conference and to spend more time focusing on it. And I think that's amazing. Good for her. It's all about survivors feeling empowered and creating movements and projects. I want survivors to show up in this space as their authentic selves and do what they can, but not what overwhelms them. I am not in this for a paycheck, not a resume, not employees. I am in this for life. And I am willing to sacrifice a lot of time and energy, which I have, to this cause, but I do not expect others to do the same. I want people to show up as they are and what feels best for them. I respect everyone's time and energy. This has to be consensual. We are survivors and must put our mental health first. CAELI, remember that? And just to remind everyone, that's not September of this year. That was September of last year. I'm going to end it there today. I'm going to continue where we get to what Neela ends up saying and how CAELI unfortunately was lying a lot throughout the messages that I was sending. And listen, the reason why I'm here today is because I'm so tired of seeing survivors divide. We can't afford to do this. We don't have to like each other per se. We don't have to be best friends. I get it. But we have to make sure that we're watching each other's back when it comes to discrediting survivors or bullying them or wanting to re-traumatize them. That's when it's not okay. Not. Thank you guys for being here today. We're at receipt 11. There are 70 of these. And sadly, I have to do this because I need for the community to have full 100% transparency when it comes to predators, when it comes to all of this, because this is a building that we're all building together. And if anything is left unsaid, you know, it's not okay. So that's where we're at. And thank you to all of the members that are here, you know, listening and building this together and understanding how we can unite and create change and not allow our egos or our triggers, etc., to further harm, and that together collectively we can be cycle breakers. I really believe we can do it. I really do. And I see this in this community. I really do. And yeah, I mean, that's honestly where I'm at. Thank you to every member that's here, the new members. I'm sorry if I missed anybody that's a new member. I was reading this, and so I wasn't able to see the chat while I was reading it, but thank you all for being here, and have a good night, and I will see you all tomorrow.